Beginning in 2020, we're implementing a company-wide annual review process for corporate employees. So here's what we want to cover with you today. Highlights and key dates of the annual performance process, the 6 steps of the performance framework, the new spot-on guiding behaviors, which play a central role in what work gets done and how well it gets done, and the performance rating scale that would be used for rating both performance goals and behaviors. By the end of this presentation, you should have a solid understanding of our new annual performance process and the expectations for employees and their managers. The annual performance review process runs from January 1st through December 31st and starts with developing SMART goals. Our hope is that every employee has their goals in place by March 6th. SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. We'll be providing training on how to set impactful SMART goals, and reviews will be based on both our performance or business goals and how well we exhibit certain behaviors. Because we don't want anyone to go too long without a review, anyone with an anniversary before July 1st should have their review as close to their anniversary as possible. This means that those employees will have 2 reviews, one for the year ending on their anniversary and another to close out performance year 2020. We'll show you some examples. And then in January 2021, we'll kick off the year-end review process, and then merit awards should be effective in February or March. The Spot-On Performance Framework is a series of steps that helps ensure an effective performance management process. At the center of the process are goals and ongoing coaching and feedback, including two-way communication, which are especially important in a dynamic, fast-paced environment like ours, where game plans, strategies, and goals can and should change frequently. Each of us has to be nimble and quick to respond to change. We'll discuss each of these 6 steps and provide some tips and tools that you can use. As mentioned earlier, guiding behaviors will be part of the annual performance review process, and we'll cover 2 types of behaviors that every employee at Spot-On will be evaluated on. There's a core set of behaviors for everyone, with additional leadership-oriented behaviors that also apply to everyone, but are especially critical for those in leadership roles. So what are guiding behaviors? In short, they're competencies, a measurable pattern of knowledge, skills, and behaviors needed to perform a job successfully. So it makes sense that each of us needs to focus on both the work objectives and the behaviors that enable that work. For that reason, performance reviews for every employee will take both goals and behaviors into account, with 80% of the performance rating based on goals and 20% based on those guiding behaviors. And there's clear evidence that key behaviors have a major impact on corporate culture. A survey conducted by the HR Research Institute in 2019 revealed that organizational values or behaviors are highly correlated with a positive workplace culture when employees live them consistently. It's not enough that we're just able to articulate organizational values. We need to live them every day if we want to maintain a positive culture that is critical to high-performing organizations. At Spot-On, our executive team has established 3 key areas that every employee needs to focus on: growing the business, building commitment, and leveraging talent. And there are specific behaviors associated with each of the 3 areas. There's a total of 10 behaviors, and all 10 support our 5 key organizational competencies: client focus, excellence, integrity, respect, and teamwork. You can see them at the center of the diagram. Those 5 organizational competencies ensure positive momentum in terms of our culture and our ability to scale and grow. Let's take a quick overview of the 10 guiding behaviors. And additional detail on the behaviors can be found in the Guide to Spot-On Guiding Behaviors and Proficiency Levels, which we'll provide to you. The first of the 2 types of guiding behaviors are core behaviors. Core behaviors define the characteristics or competencies that are important for all employees at all levels at Spot-On. Core behaviors are based on the mission, the business strategy, and the values of the organization, and they play a critical role in our ability to perform successfully. The second type of guiding behaviors are leadership behaviors. Leadership behaviors define the expected characteristics of exceptional leaders, but they're applicable to all employees at all levels across the organization. Again, additional detail on each of these behaviors can be found in the Guide to Spot-On Guiding Behaviors and Proficiency Levels. Growing the business is about personal accountability for meeting client needs and getting results. There are 4 behaviors in this area, including one leadership-oriented behavior, as indicated by the asterisk. Those behaviors include client orientation, results orientation, personal accountability, and strategic thinking and visioning. The next key focus area is leveraging talent. Leveraging talent means growing our people, growing ourselves, and contributing to the development of others. There are 3 behaviors in this area, including 2 leadership-oriented behaviors. Those behaviors include developing self and others, holding others accountable, and team leadership. The third key focus area of Spot-On's guiding behaviors is building commitment, with 3 behaviors, including 1 leadership-oriented behavior. Building commitment, restated, is creating positive organizational change through employee growth. Those behaviors include effective communication, teamwork and collaboration, and leading change. An individual contributor will be accountable for all 10 behaviors, but not to the same degree as managers and executives. The Behavior Proficiency Level Guide uses descriptions to set expected behaviors based on an employee's level in the company, and this same guide is used to assess or rate them as well. The 4 levels include individual contributor, which generally means all non-management roles, senior professional, including some non-management roles that have higher levels of responsibility, leader, which includes directors and non-management roles with equivalent levels of responsibility, and executive. Here's an excerpt from the Guide for the Behavior of Results Orientation. An individual contributor is expected to exhibit this behavior at the 2 level, meaning that all of the descriptors in both level 1 and level 2 apply to the individual contributor. A leader, which includes directors and equivalent senior level positions, is expected to exhibit this behavior as described in levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. The Behavior Proficiency Guide has such a chart for all 10 behaviors. Employees will be rated on both the achievement of their goals and demonstration of guiding behaviors using the 5-point scale that you see here. The lowest rating of 1, or unsatisfactory, means that the employee isn't meeting many or possibly any of their goals and isn't exhibiting the guiding behaviors to the degree expected for their level in the company. Needs development means that the employee has some work to do with at least some of the goals or behaviors. Meets expectations means that the employee is consistently meeting and sometimes even exceeding expectations. Meets expectations is considered a solid rating. Superior means that the employee is exceeding many, if not all, of the expectations of their position. And finally, distinguished, the 5 rating, should be extremely difficult to achieve and should be reserved for employees who are reaching far beyond their role in an effort to support getting better as an organization. The Performance Rating Guide is intended to help you to more objectively assess your performance goals, and the Guiding Behavior Proficiency Level Guide will help you to rate your behaviors. Okay, let's take a closer look at the 6 steps involved in the annual performance process. The goal setting process helps ensure that you and your manager are on the same page as it relates to what is expected of you, and your one-on-one meetings as well as regular coaching will help serve to reinforce that understanding, as well as where you stand at any given time. Our performance framework starts with well-defined goals that align with our corporate priorities. That is how we ensure that we're all rowing in the same direction towards common goals. Our corporate priorities determine our business unit or department goals, and those are in turn used to create the team leader's goals and then individual goals. With your leader's direction, employees should provide a draft of their performance goals and include a minimum of one professional development goal. Additional training will be provided on the development of SMART goals. It's important to remember that goals aren't carved in stone. They can and should change if the priorities of the organization change. Your touch base meetings will keep you and your leader on the same page. And we'd like everyone to have their goals in place by March 6th. Regular check-ins or touch base meetings with your leaders to discuss goal performance is very important to ensure that you're staying on track. To prepare for a check-in, you should think about what you're doing well and where you need improvement. Come prepared to discuss personal career objectives as well as professional development objectives. Consider soliciting feedback from others, your teammates, to gain their perspective on how you're doing. And then reflect on how you might rate yourself. Discuss the obstacles that you've encountered and work with your manager to modify goals if needed. And ask your manager how you can do better. The self-review kicks off the final review process. With the self-review, employees provide comments on how well they feel that they've accomplished each of their goals and demonstrated the guiding behaviors, and they'll also provide a rating for each of those. All employees should prepare for the self-review by working with their manager to get it scheduled. And when reflecting on their performance, they should remain as objective as possible, gather supporting documentation, and consider asking for the perspective of others. Employees should also be emotionally prepared for the feedback they'll receive from their manager. The next step in the process is the manager review. The manager will provide their feedback on the review document after you provide yours, and they'll follow a similar process that you used for your self-review and rating, including gathering feedback and examples. We're going to use a weighted average approach to deriving the final performance rating. As I said, guiding behaviors are critical to our corporate success, so we're saying that they're worth 20% of the overall rating. So someone who is doing a good job in meeting their performance goals, but aren't exhibiting the minimum expectations around each of the 10 behaviors, may have their overall rating negatively impacted. Conversely, doing a really good job with the behaviors may positively impact the overall rating. Here's an example of how an average performance goal score is derived by taking the total sum of all goal ratings and dividing it by the number of goals. In this example, the total score of the employee's 7 goals is 23, and then 23 divided by 7 gives us the average goal score of 3.28. The same process is used to derive the average behavior score, which in this example you can see is 3.30. So bringing it together, using the weightings of 80% for goals and 20% for behaviors, the employee's overall performance rating of 3.284 is rounded down to 3.0. Overall ratings that are directly in the middle, say a 3.5, will be rounded up, and anything below that middle point will be rounded down. So a 3.5 or higher will be rounded up to a 4, and 3.49 or lower will be rounded down to 3. While this is an ideal rating distribution for most organizations, we will not be imposing any sort of force curve or force ranking. However, HR will be looking at submitted reviews to look for anomalies and will conduct a calibration exercise with leaders where appropriate. In high-performing organizations, the bar should be set sufficiently high that as many as 25% of all employees won't achieve all of their goals. In high-performing organizations, achieving a meets expectations rating is something an employee really should be proud of. We'll be providing some rating-based merit guidance in the fourth quarter of 2020. The final performance discussion with your manager is an opportunity to recognize your contributions and identify areas in which you can maximize your contributions for the future. The discussion is more or less the first stage of the performance and development planning for the coming year. As you prepare for your final review, it's a good idea to think in terms of TACT, which is an acronym for 4 key things that you need to keep top of mind during the meeting. Think before you react. Try to calm yourself before speaking. Ask before you tell. Learn as much as possible about your manager's perspective before sharing your own. Consider your manager's viewpoint by looking at your performance based on the facts he or she provides. And then tell what needs to be told. Share performance examples in terms of situation, behavior, and impact, and do it in a calm manner. The next few slides contain additional tips on how you can have a positive final performance discussion. Be considerate. Feedback is a gift. Do not respond defensively, but rather think of the conversation as part of a partnership for continuous improvement. And listen intently. Listen to understand your manager's perceptions. Paraphrase what's heard. Restate what your manager told you, and if needed, be sure to ask clarifying questions. Get detailed feedback. If your manager doesn't give you the specifics during the meeting, be sure to ask for them. And ask for a timeout if you feel yourself getting overly emotional, but be sure to circle back as soon as possible to wrap up the meeting. Partnership. The discussion needs to be two-way. Focus on the future, not the past, and discuss performance expectations going forward. Consider the consequences of not heeding the feedback that you received from your manager, no matter how unpleasant the feedback might be. If you believe you've made positive change, follow up with your manager down the road and let them know that you've acted upon the feedback received during the performance review. And the final step in the process is the merit award. It's important to remember that merit awards are performance-based compensation increases. They're not automatic. It's about pay for performance. To convert from the anniversary-based review process to the common year-end annual process, we needed to draw a line in the sand as to when employees would no longer receive a review on their anniversary, while ensuring that employees don't go longer than 18 months without a review. So here's some guidelines. Employees with an anniversary date occurring from January 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2020 will receive an anniversary-based review and a merit increase if appropriate. And they'll also participate in the 2020 year-end process. So this group of employees will have 2 reviews. Employees with an anniversary date occurring from July 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020 will not have a review on their anniversary date, but will participate in the 2020 year-end process. And then for employees hired this year, employees hired in the first 3 quarters of 2020 will participate in the 2020 year-end process, and employees hired in the 4th quarter of 2020 will not participate in the process because there won't be enough time to adequately assess their performance. So their review won't take place until the following year. Each of these 4 scenarios impacts the merit award calculation as shown on the next 2 slides. In example 1, an employee with an anniversary date of February 1st will have a prorated merit that reflects a little shorter review period. They had a review on February 1st, so the merit award the employee will receive in 2021 will be for 11 months instead of 12, February 1st through December 31st of 2020. The 3% merit that his leader gives him will be prorated to 2.75%. In the second example, an employee is hired on July 1st. That means the employee will not have a review on their anniversary date in 2020, and subsequently will go 18 months without a formal review and merit. The merit will be prorated to reflect the extra 6 months, and the 3% merit that his manager gave him will become 4.5%. In this third example, Anyone hired in the first 3 quarters of 2020 will participate in the 2020 process, and the merit will be prorated to reflect a review period of less than 12 months. And then finally, anyone hired in the last quarter of 2020 will not get a review in 2021 because 3 months is not enough time to effectively assess performance. So their review in early 2022 will cover the time from their hire date on October 1st of 2020 through the end of 2021 performance year. And their merit in 2022 will be prorated to cover the 15 months, turning a 3% merit into a 3.75% merit increase. Don't worry if this is still a little gray to you, because we'll be revisiting this in the fourth quarter when we communicate more on the determination of merit awards. Thank you for reviewing this training, and please reach out to Human Resources if you have any questions.